Hi everyone, welcome to the Wialon and Queclink joint webinar. I'm Sebastian, an event planner here at Queclink, and I'm so excited to have you all with us today. Today's webinar will start soon. In this webinar, we will explore how our collaborative solutions are driving fleet success. Here is a quick agenda about today's webinar. We will start with brief introductions to Queclink and Wialon, including some updates you may find interesting. Next, we will dive into the latest trends and challenges in the fleet market. Then we will showcase our collaborative solutions designed to boost fleet performance, followed by a live demonstration to show how it all works. Finally, we will showcase our collaborative solution designed to boost fleet performance. Finally, we will have a Q&A session where you can ask us your questions. So stay tuned and feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A chat anytime. They will be answered in the end. Before we dive in, let's meet our speakers. For Queclink, we have our UK and EU sales director, Wialon, and our senior technical support engineer, Travis. In Wialon, we have their partner success manager, Christina, and their technical growth manager, Miguel. So now, let me hand it over to Wialon for the introduction of Queclink.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks for that warm introduction, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you might be in the world. Thank you for making the time to be with us here today. We truly appreciate your time, and we're honored to have you with us. So I'll just give you a little introduction to Queclink for those of you who perhaps don't know too much about us. Queclink is probably one of the largest telematics and IoT hardware manufacturers in the world. We're headquartered in China, but we have a truly international presence and feel. Queclink have been around for about 15 years. We were founded in 2009. And although it's a large company, it has a very, very family feel about it. I've worked for many companies in the past, and it genuinely does feel like a small family unit. Just to run through some of the stats then, so we are publicly traded on the Chinese stock exchange with a $1.4 billion US market cap. To date, believe it or not, we have delivered around 64 million telematics devices to the marketplace. We service around 3,800 customers, but that list is growing day on day. And we operate in about 140 countries currently. Again, that is increasing as time goes by. Looking at our financial performance, so we have a compound annual growth rate of around 55%, which if you take over the last couple of years, given COVID and everything else, I think that's quite an impressive figure. In terms of our headcount, we have around 500 plus employees, just over 500 employees. But something key to mention about us is the fact that 60% of our employees are engineers. And that's indicative of our company's drive to focus and create the best products for you, our customers. And then finally on this slide, I've always said that the good measure of a telematics company is what they spend on research and development. And at Queclink, we have no less than 3 state-of-the-art R&D centers. And when I say state-of-the-art, I've been lucky enough to visit these facilities, and I can assure you they genuinely feel like something straight out of Star Wars or Star Trek. The equipment in there, just the layout of the building itself is phenomenal. Moving on then to the next slide, Sebastian, if you can. I'm going to ask Christina now just to give you a little introduction to Wialon. So Christina, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, Vernon. I'm glad to share more insights into Gotem and its flagship product, Wialon. Today, Gotem is a global company specializing in software development of IoT solutions, with a focus on fleet tracking and management. Gotem provides solutions for both commercial and personal use. Among these, Wialon stands out as the ultimate platform for fleet digitalization, tracking over 4 million vehicles across more than 160 countries. Provided on a B2B basis exclusively, Wialon is partnering with more than 2,700 telematics service providers. It is also a hardware-agnostic solution integrated with 3,000 600 plus device models. Our partners combine Wialon with the best matched devices and connectivity solutions to deliver comprehensive telematics tool to their clients, from small and mid-sized delivery fleets to large transportation companies. This empowers businesses to streamline workflows, manage assets with ease, and stay on top of every aspect of the fleet, from fuel consumption and driver performance to cargo safety. Next slide, please. So to achieve that, the Wialon team makes sure that our partners have access to the reliable and multifunctional platform, which my colleague Mikhail will present today, as well as to the full set of additional services, benefits, and ongoing support to help them succeed and grow their business. Technical assistance in 5 languages with 24/7 support available in English, comprehensive onboarding system, business consultations, training sessions, access to the Wialon community, the largest network of fleet management professionals. Wialon's success comes from our business model and ecosystem. Sebastian, could you move to the next slide, please? As we can see, this ecosystem connects thousands of telematics service providers, hardware manufacturers, and connectivity providers. This collaboration drives growth and innovation across the entire telematics community, delivering the value to businesses around the globe. So today, it is a real pleasure to co-host this webinar with Queclink. Sebastian, next slide, please. So this is a photo. Queclink is one of our top 10 hardware manufacturers in 2024, and it is already for several years in a row now, by the way. And to all the viewers, thank you for being with us today. We are already 60 people here. So let's dive in and see how service providers can deliver effective fleet management solutions by combining the strengths of Wialon and Queclink as their trusted telematics providers. And we are starting the content part of the webinar with the discussion of the current industry trends shaping the future of fleet management. Advanced fleet telematics is the first trend we are covering. So yes, in today's tech-driven landscape, businesses need to go beyond basic tracking to retain customers and maintain a competitive edge. This is especially true in fleet management, where customer needs are becoming increasingly complex and diverse. It significantly impacts the revenue composition of service providers. Please, let's have a look at the slide to compare past revenue mix and future revenue mix. Sebastian, could you help? As we can see, advanced fleet management isn't just about tracking vehicles anymore. It's about providing custom solutions that meet specific needs of each client. What does it involve exactly? If we summarize the scheme provided, there are a few key things to focus on, such as custom implementation. It's all about tailoring solutions to meet specific needs, whether it's custom reporting, setting up alerts, or creating workflows. It is also openness to integration. For example, integrating fleet management systems with other business applications, such as CRMs, ERPs, TMSs, or new technologies as such. And finally, this is also about the focus on customer success. Today, it means more than just providing a product. It's about building strong relationships, offering ongoing support, and helping clients get the most out of the fleet management system they use. It's about the service itself. This may involve providing trainings, consultations, and regular communication to ensure customer satisfaction. In this way, by adopting a project-based approach and focusing on customer success, businesses can leverage advanced fleet management to improve efficiency, reduce costs, and enhance customer satisfaction. Now, let's get back to our trends list. Advanced telematics goes hand in hand with predictive maintenance, the next trend we will talk about today. Instead of reacting to issues, we must now focus on proactively preventing problems before they arise. Fleet optimization, driven by insights from extensive data analysis, is becoming increasingly essential as businesses seek to leverage trends and patterns for better decision-making. Let's take a look at what the average fleet's expenses consist of. At least 65% of expenses can be optimized with telematics. Based on Wialon partners' experience, predictive maintenance alone can lead to fuel savings of up to 10%. It can also reduce fleet downtime by 70% compared to breakdown maintenance. What is more, predictive maintenance can lead to a 30% reduction in maintenance costs compared to breakdown maintenance again. Predictive maintenance means predictive approach that will also influence the driver habits. We will elaborate on it a bit later today. So, Vernon, on this note, I'm passing the word to you to take us through the next trends.
Thanks for that, Christina. So the trends I wanted to talk to you all about today are, first and foremost, advanced SVR. So SVR, stolen vehicle recovery. Now that's been around for as long as telematics has. And the name of the game in this space is staying one step ahead of the criminals. If you look at the landscape today, we have things like keyless thefts taking place. So the hardware that we develop and use in these situations needs to be really, really cutting edge technology. We're thinking of think of solutions like multiple device solutions. Think of devices that have scanner and jammer detection, and think of extended battery life and stolen vehicle recovery units. So if a vehicle is stolen, the battery of the vehicle is disconnected, the units that are still in situ in the vehicle need to be able to perform for a longer period of time to allow the police or whoever else to recover the vehicle. The next trend that I wanted to discuss is prioritizing driver safety with AI. And basically, this is removing the need for humans to review and identify patterns, being able to monitor huge amounts of data in short time frames, being proactive rather than reactive. And the analogy that I always tend to use in this is, if you can imagine video telematics space, you have a fleet of 50 vehicles. You have a fleet manager who's looking at those videos or needs to look at those videos to manage the fleet. Let's imagine that each one of those 50 vehicles generates 4 individual driving events per day, 4 clips of video effectively. Typically, vehicles tend to produce a lot more than that, but let's just say 4. If that was the case, that particular fleet manager would have to watch around 1,000 videos a week just to stay on top of managing that relatively small fleet of 50 vehicles. So you can imagine, if you extrapolate that up to a fleet of, say, 1,000 vehicles, it's physically impossible for one person or even a small department of people to actually stay on top of and manage the data. So with AI, basically you have the computers or machine learning looking at the information that's coming out, identifying those patterns, identifying which individuals perhaps need different levels of training, etc. The next trend is the emergence of DMS requirements. And this again refers to the dash camera market. So traditionally, telematics would deliver metrics like harsh cornering, harsh braking, speeding, etc. These days, there's a demand for way more data management than that. And dash cameras are now expected to provide things like fatigue, distraction, smoking, eating. Seatbelt usage, for example, is becoming mandatory in many, many fleets. And the uptake of DMS is also becoming mandatory in those fleets. We're going to talk about DMS in a little more detail further on in the presentation. And then finally, trend 6, this is one very dear to my heart because I think this is what we're going to see really taking off over the next year or two. And that's the convergence of traditional or legacy telematics and video telematics. Plenty of fleets out there at the moment have dual systems. So they have a telematics solution that's giving them all the legacy data that we're all used to, sort of speeding events, etc. like that. But they also have a video telematics solution. Each of those solutions has a SIM card in it, has a cost, and the customer is typically running 2 systems at the same time. The idea is now to have everything under one roof. But traditionally, cameras have not been fantastic at delivering tracking information. However, with the new generation of cameras, and we're going to talk about one of those a little further on, we're seeing that the blend of legacy telematics and tracking data and video telematics is now pretty much state of the art. So you would have one system delivering both all the functions you'd need from a telematics solution, as well as all the video telematics requirements for a fleet. So those are the main trends. And as I say, I think we're going to see these becoming more and more prevalent over the next couple of years. Sebastian, if we could move on to the next slide, please. So just to talk briefly around the key challenges in the fleet telematics market and how telematics plays a part in solving them. Now, I've been in this industry for around 25 years. I think I was probably one of the first people to sort of get into it right in the early days. And these challenges are, well, let's just say they've been prevalent right from the beginning. Some of them more so than others, and some of them are slightly different or evolving. But key challenges these days are growing pressure for sustainability. The green agenda at the moment is massive. Fleets are being pushed to measure and manage and reduce their carbon footprints. Routes are being scrutinized for efficiency. And the bottom line of all of this is if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So telematics has become a key requirement in every fleet today, but it needs to be simple, intuitive, and as automated as possible. So touching back on that AI point I made in the previous slide, these systems almost need to self-manage. Second challenge I want to discuss is the concerns about driver safety. Well, getting drivers home every day safely to their families has always been a priority. And to be honest with you, it's one of the main reasons I got involved in telematics in the first place. I see it as a vital function and, almost the same as emergency services. If we're putting solutions out there that are going to save lives, then we're doing something good. And at the beginning of telematics, right back 25 odd years ago, it was all around speeding reports. Could we cut, speeding levels in fleets down? But nowadays, telematics has evolved so much and solutions are required, or should I say rather expected, to deliver and measure so much more. So we'll talk about those metrics a little bit further on in the presentation. Point 3, inefficient management of vehicle data. This has always been a problem. I saw over my years and years so many solutions fitted, so many companies paying for these solutions, but actually getting no benefit from them. And that was purely because there was so much information, companies couldn't actually manage the information and do anything useful with it. So with the huge amounts of data generated by telematics solutions today, many companies struggle with management of their fleet. And if you don't use the data that the system's generating, it's useless. And to be honest with you, a waste of money. You're going to miss all the benefits. You're going to have higher operational costs and reduced overall fleet performance. So again, touching on the point I made earlier, you'd normally need a huge department of people to effectively manage the data of a large fleet. But there is a growing requirement for telematics solutions to self-manage. We touched on AI earlier on. I've mentioned it a couple of times, but again, I think this is going to become so much more prevalent in the next year or two. These systems really do need to self-manage and take a load off of the people that are sitting in those transport departments within large fleets. Christina, I'm going to hand over to you to talk about the last two challenges on here, if I may. So over to you.
Sure, thank you, Vernon. Let's now address point 4, rising costs of fuel, maintenance, and insurance. So yes, the global economy indeed is facing a challenging time with rising costs across various sectors. Transportation industry is just not an exception here. In this context, telematics implementation is a valuable tool to mitigate these rising costs and optimize fleet operations. For example, talking about fuel, we can now provide precise data on fuel consumption in real time. The reasons for bigger fuel consumption differ: aggressive driving, inefficient routes, potential fuel thefts. Exact knowledge of it enables immediate action to prevent losses and enhance security, which is perfectly monitored with Wialon's fuel management functionality and Queclink's devices, sending fuel level parameters. From the maintenance perspective, our combined solution can help schedule timely maintenance based on mileage, engine hours, and other relevant parameters. This proactive approach prevents breakdowns, extends vehicle lifespan, and reduces costly repairs. Insurance costs can also be eased. Fleet management as such promotes safer driving practices, which can lead to lower insurance premiums. Insurance companies often offer discounts to businesses that implement telematics solutions and demonstrate a commitment to safety. So, while rising fuel, maintenance, and insurance costs pose a global challenge for fleet owners, telematics service providers now have the tools to tackle these challenges and support their customers' fleet success. We are pleased to accompany them in that. And the last challenge we are covering today is the privacy-related concerns. Although the potential of advanced fleet management to transform fleet operations from both commercial and safety perspective is undeniable, concerns around data privacy may still arise. Fleet operators and drivers alike worry about the potential misuse of their sensitive information. So we all know that strict data protection laws like GDPR in Europe impose significant obligations on telematics companies. Failure to comply can lead to fines and legal issues, making some businesses hesitant to embrace telematics at all. This hesitancy is understandable, but the cost of inaction is far greater today. A bit of statistics. So the European Commission estimates that up to half of all accidents are caused by driver fatigue or distraction. These tragedies leave a devastating toll. Last year alone, over 20,000 lives were lost on EU roads. So is this a long-term challenge? We already see that privacy regulations in countries such as France or Germany are becoming more relaxed in regard to privacy and telematic deployment. By year 2026, EU regulations will require all new vehicles to be equipped with advanced driver assistance systems to prevent accidents. So it is the new reality we should not be afraid of. Continuous learning and progressive approach are essential in today's market. Vernon, I believe back to you.
Thanks for that, Christina. Well, we're going to start moving towards the sort of collaborative side of the presentation. And as you know, great hardware is the cornerstone of any telematics solution, but hardware alone can't do the job. It needs to be married up with equally as good software. And with that in mind, we're going to run through a presentation on some of our hardware and also how the Wialon platform takes the information from that hardware and delivers it to end users. Sebastian, if we could move on to the next slide, please. So when we first talked about doing this webinar, it was quite challenging for me because we had to decide on which products we would talk to you about. We could only select a few. Queclink have such a diverse range of products. I've only selected 4 units out of our entire range today to talk to you about, but I thought I would kind of go from fairly basic right through to the most complex of units. I'm going to talk to you today, first and foremost, about our telematics and tracking units. Those units are going to be the GB58 CEU, which is on the left-hand side of your screen, right the way through to our advanced GB355 CEU. So we're going from a very basic 2 or 3 wire solution offering right through to the most highly complex units with multiple inputs and outputs, options for connectivity to CAN bus and tachograph. So let's talk about the GB58 CEU then. And I call it one of our entry-level tracking units, but to be honest with you, it's way more than that. It's a 4G unit with 2G fallback, so it's future-proofed in terms of the network coverage across the EU. In the last year or so, we've seen so many customers switching away from 2G units and delivering 4G units to their customers with the future of networks, the 2G networks being shut down in mind. And we're seeing that accelerate now over the last couple of months. The 58 CEU is a very compact unit, which makes it ideal for installation into vehicles. It takes up very, very little space, and it's incredibly cost effective. I remember when I first started working for Queclink, I was shocked at actually how affordable this powerful and capable little unit actually costs. As I said before, we call it an entry-level tracking unit, but actually it has an upgrade path of connectivity to rival many of the advanced tracking units our competitors provide in the marketplace. It actually has 6 inputs and outputs, so 2 digital inputs and 2 digital outputs, as well as 1 programmable analog input or output, depending on the requirement. It has one-wire connection for things like driver identification, temperature monitoring, etc. So it can measure a lot of different parameters and functions on any vehicle. Finally, it's Bluetooth equipped. And again, this is an area we're seeing a massive amount of growth and demand in. A lot of customers are wanting Bluetooth connectivity to accessories. The idea is, without having to run cables, etc., installation time and complexity is reduced, therefore making a telematics deployment that much more cost effective. And as you can see on the bottom side of the screen, we have a host of wireless accessories, things like fobs for driver identification or immobilization. We have BLE relays, which again can be used for immobilization or measuring different functions on and off of a vehicle or enabling different functions on a vehicle. We have things like buzzers to force active driver identification. So the buzzer will obviously continue until the driver has pressed his key fob and signed into the vehicle. And also we have a separate Bluetooth CAN module, which allows this particular unit to be connected to a vehicle CAN via non-intrusive Queclink cables and allow things like true odometer, fuel usage, fault codes, and DTCs. We'll talk about that module a little bit further on because it actually plays a part in many of our different solutions. Just moving on to the next slide then. This is a schematic diagram to show you how a unit would be deployed into a vehicle and basically what the unit will deliver. There are a couple more slides like this in the presentation. So I think the best way to describe it is on the far right-hand side, you'll see that line with things like location, geofence, etc. These are all the end functions that a platform like Wialon will deliver to the end customer. But all of those functions are enabled by the different pieces of hardware that are fitted into the vehicle, which you will see on the far left-hand side. So the tracking unit in the center of the screen, in this particular instance, is coupled with a Bluetooth relay for immobilization, an active buzzer to create driver identification, force driver ID login, and a driver ID key fob right at the top. The unit obviously transmits all the data through the GSM network, which then gets to the Wialon platform, and Wialon then transfer that information to the end user, delivering things like fuel consumption information, driver behavioral information in terms of driver reports, that type of thing. So there are various benefits to having a solution like this, and you can see those listed on the right-hand side. Some of it we've talked about already. That green agenda, reducing the carbon footprint by stopping idling, and obviously getting better fuel consumption out of vehicles, etc. Moving on to the next slide then, Sebastian, if you can. We're now going to move across to the our flagship unit, the GB355 CEU. Now I'm going to stress again, I've kind of shown you one unit on the left-hand side and now the most advanced on the right. I can't tell you how many other units there are in between that do varying different things, but I've basically picked a low-end and a high-end device to talk about. So the GB355 is pretty much our top-of-the-range unit and does literally anything you could possibly want out of a telematics device. It has everything that the GB58 CEU has, but it does have additional features. For example, 2 CAN bus lines with non-intrusive connectivity. Those are those Queclink cables that I spoke to you about. So there's no splicing into vehicle looms, infringing warranties, etc. And those CAN cables and this connectivity will deliver things, as I said, like true odometer reading, fault codes, fuel consumption, idling on fuel information, etc. It also has a K-line connection for tachograph integration. So we are able to connect to vehicle tachographs and transmit DDD files. It has 4 digital inputs, 3 digital outputs, 2 analog inputs. It has a one-wire interface as well. So what we talked about, driver ID and temperature, etc. It also has RS-232 and RS-485 connectivity as well. And just like the GB58 CEU, it's equipped with Bluetooth, and we can connect to any of our Bluetooth ancillary sensors. Some of the others are actually shown on the screen at the moment. So door sensors to register door opening, door closing. We have a temperature and humidity sensor, and via the RS232, we can even connect a camera up to this particular unit. So that kind of talks you through the main functionalities of the GB355. Sebastian, if you can move on to the next slide. Here you can see a similar schematic of a truck with a GB355 on it, and we've pretty much got all the ancillary hardware on the left-hand side. So your key fob, your temperature and humidity sensor, a door switch. We've even got tire pressure monitoring solutions that are either Bluetooth or RS433. So they can be connected to the vehicle valve, so an external type tire pressure monitoring solution, or an internal inside the wheel hub solution. We can also connect to things like ultrasonic fuel sensors. Fuel theft and fuel usage is a massive, massive concern, especially in the emerging markets, Africa and India, etc. We're seeing a lot of people wanting to equip vehicles with telematics purely to monitor fuel usage and fuel theft. Again, similar to before, it's all transmitted by the GSM network to the Wialon servers, and then on the right-hand side, you'll see that translate into the benefits that a fleet manager would get. So sustainability, better fuel management, cost and control, reducing of downtime by making sure the right vehicles are being utilized for the right jobs, etc. And it's essentially enhancing overall fleet efficiency. Various other things like your faults and predictive maintenance will come from the information from this unit as well. And I think Christine is going to touch on that later on. Moving on to the next slide then, I just wanted to give everyone an overview of what it would look like in terms of tachograph integration. So again, there you can see the unit fitted to the vehicle. You've got your K-line connection to the digital tacho. We've also got a CAN line connected as well. This will deliver driver identification as well as the tachograph information. And the method of data transfer is as before via the GPS and GSM networks. I'm now going to hand over to Mikhail to talk you through or show you how this information translates into useful user interface for fleet managers. So Mikhail, over to you.
Thank you very much, Vernon, for presenting your magnificent Queclink devices. So as Vernon mentioned, we will be talking about basic to advanced monitoring, and we will be showing you how to implement those features into Wialon. So if we're talking about basic tracking, we will be talking about real-time tracking, geofencing, notification, and alert systems. And the GB355 device will be allow you to generate more advanced reports. You can implement video telematics. We can get data from CAN bus. We can also control fuel consumption and as well as driver behavior monitoring. So right now I will start the presentation of Wialon interface together with the description of the functionalities. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. So we have two units right now. We have GB358 device, which is advanced one, and we have GB58, the basic one. So as you can see from the very beginning in the monitoring tab, you can highlight all the sensors. So from now on, you can see that there is a huge difference between two devices. That 355 device has all the CAN data, and you can add even more. So you have external power, fuel level sensor, the motor temperature, the ignition status, the RPM, and many, many others. So right now we are in the monitoring tab, one of the most used tabs, which allow you to monitor in the real time the position of your unit. And you will be seeing the current speed of the unit, how many satellites are looking at that, and many, many others. Additionally, you can customize this window to get as much information from the unit as you can. So you can generate quick tracks, request messages from the unit, generate the quick reports, and so on. So let me show you how this works. So imagine I want to see what my unit has done for today. So with different colors, I can see the direction and movements of this particular GV58 unit. So as you can see, even with a basic device, we still can have a lot of different data. And of course, you will not be able to track all your cars 24/7. So that's why Wialon implemented reports, so you can analyze data retrospectively. So let's try and see what kind of information we can get from the basic unit. So even with the simple device, we can get the information about the geofences. So at what time the unit entered the geofence, at what time it left the geofence, how much kilometers it was covering inside this geofence. We can see the details inside about the trips. So the mileage, the average speed, the max speed of each and every one of the trips performed. We can see chronologically the events that happened for the selected period of time for this unit. Was he on parking? Was he on a trip? And also you can create events in Wialon, so we can detect violations such as overspeeding, custom events like entering some particular geofencing, and many, many others. So let's have a look how the report will look like for a more advanced device. Let me modify a little bit the timing. So here as well, we can see the trips that were performed by another unit with GV355 device inside. So yes, we can see all the trips, we can see the speed, but additionally, we can generate in the reports additional information about max temperature, the consumption by absolute fuel sensor, or the basic fuel level sensor device. What is very good about reports that you can modify them anytime, but by adding additional information about those table. And basically it works like a constructor. So at any time, depending on the client's need, you can add more tables and you can generate even more information that I'm currently presenting to you right now. So you can detect, see exactly the engine hours, which will allow you also to detect the idling. You can also add the charts where you can see, for example, how your level fuel, the level of your fuel changed throughout the time. So as you can see, the system also will be able to detect the fuel filling. And additionally, you will have the same value inside the table. Additionally, what you can achieve using Wialon, you can get the online notifications. So throughout our webinar, we've been receiving constantly some notifications online, and you can see that the system detected a door opening for GV355 unit, the speed violation for GV58 unit. So you can configure different types of notifications depending on the needs of your clients. It can be the visit of geofences, it can be the sensor value, ignition, temperature, humidity, RPM, whatever your client will request. And also you can control the door opening and, as I mentioned, the fuel filling. So this is about 10-15% of Wialon functionalities available. And of course, you can get more and more information on your units and depending also on the device type. So coming back to you, Vernon.
Thanks, Mikhail. Right, Sebastian, I don't know if you can move to the next slide. Wait for him to catch up. Right, so next I want to talk to you a little bit about another line that we produce, which is our asset tracking range. Now, again, we have a huge range of different devices, ranging from disposable to rechargeable to long battery life, and believe it or not, even a solar-powered asset tracking device that works on containers and trailers. But today I've chosen to talk to you about the GL53MG Plus. So it's one of the units in our range, and the reason I wanted to talk to you specifically about this unit is it does work in conjunction with both of the other units we've talked about today to deliver a stolen vehicle recovery solution that's quite unique and special. Just looking at this device in isolation. So again, it's truly compact, allowing for covert installation. To give you a reference of size, it's probably a little bit smaller than a cigarette box of cigarette box. It is a 4G unit with 2G fallback. So again, if you're selling this to your customer, you're future-proofing them against the shutdown of the 2G network. It's a waterproof device, so IP67 casing, and it has BLE on board as well, so compatible with many of those sensors that we showed earlier on. And depending on the type of configuration that you put onto the device, you can get up to around 4 years battery life out of this particular device. Sebastian, if you can move to the next slide, please. This is the stolen vehicle recovery solution that I was talking to you about. Now, I need to be a little bit careful here because I don't want to give the game away in terms of how these units work. But let's just say that each unit works in tandem and in isolation at the same time. Now, that means that either of these two units is capable of delivering stolen vehicle recovery functionality in the event of the other unit being removed. They communicate together in a very special way, and the idea behind that is typically these days, the thieves are so clued up. They're scanning vehicles when they steal them, and they tend to be able to pick up a telematics unit. And if they do that, they tend to remove the unit, which is again goes back to sort of what I was talking about earlier on with longer battery life for in the other ancillary devices. If that's the case, what tends to happen here is the secondary unit will kick in at a certain point in time and deliver that all-important location information to facilitate vehicle recovery. Again, I can't talk too much about how the technology works, but it's very clever how these two units communicate with each other to deliver the encompassing solution. Moving on then to the next part of the presentation. Sebastian, if you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. So this is our dash camera device, which I want to talk to you about. Queclink have produced, this is our second generation dash camera, and it was launched probably, when was it? February of this year. It has done phenomenally well, and I am genuinely not lying when I say I literally cannot manufacture these fast enough. It's done so well for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, the functionality that it delivers out of a dash camera versus its price point. It's an incredibly cheap device, and if anybody wants to talk to me about pricing on this, then please reach out after this webinar and we can discuss it. But let's just say it rivals what's considered the top of the range cameras out there at a budget price level. So out of the box, it's a forward-facing 1080p forward-facing dash cam. It takes up very little windscreen space. It's very small, very compact, very elegant looking little camera compared to some of the great big chunky ones that we're seeing on the marketplace at the moment. It has DSM inbuilt. So in other words, it's capable of delivering those things that we talked about earlier on, those additional metrics. It has things like SOS, panic facility, speech. You can get video on demand. You can do live streaming with it. Its big plus is that it has a secondary channel. So you could sell this to your customer as a single forward-facing dash camera. But you have an additional channel that will allow you to add a secondary camera to the dash camera. And again, this can be a choice of various different cameras. And we've got some showing in the bottom side of the screen there. So you could have a driver-facing camera. Again, we're seeing the popularity of that rising in Europe at the moment. You could have a driver-facing camera with DSM. So that's your smoking, eating, drinking, etc. We'll talk about that, I think, in more detail in the next slide. But you could also have a load bay camera, which is your bottom right-hand camera you're looking at there. So for monitoring goods going into a vehicle or coming off a vehicle. And again, remember that scenario we talked about from with having theft out of a vehicle. The dome camera would basically pick up anybody breaking into the back of a vehicle via a door switch, etc. One of the other things that's probably worth mentioning on this camera is it's an Android-based platform, so it's always awake. One of the biggest challenges I had when selling video telematics was people would ask me, all right, well, I've parked my van up in a car park, somebody's reversed into it and bumped it and then driven off. Can you give me the footage? Well, traditionally, we would have had to say no because the boot up time of the most dash cameras was about a minute and a half. This camera comes to life in about 3 to 4 seconds. So if it's connected to a door switch or if there's motion on the vehicle, literally within 3 or 4 seconds, the cameras are alive and recording. So again, going back to that theft from the back of a vehicle, if it was connected to a door switch or they shook the vehicle around whilst breaking into the back door, camera's immediately alive and starts to capture that footage. Sebastian, moving on to the next slide. So these are those additional metrics that I was talking to you about. And you can see the camera on the right-hand side, a very small DMS camera. Traditionally, DMS cameras were quite big and they were more suited for heavy goods vehicles. Obviously, technology's moved along and we now have a very small A-pillar mount camera which can make it suitable for passenger cars and light commercial vehicles as well. And among some of the metrics are the ones that are on your screen at the moment. So smoking, yawning, seatbelt use, distraction, and then a big one in Europe at the moment is obviously phone calls. You know, if people are using their mobile phones whilst driving, it's incredibly dangerous. And the camera is able to be configured in a way that it can either alert the driver immediately, audibly in the vehicle, or perhaps the way you would want it set up. If you were a particular fleet manager, you might want it to be recording those incidents, but not informing the driver. But for things like yawning, fatigue, you absolutely want it to be able to alert the driver in real time. And the configurability of this camera is phenomenal. There's literally 2 screens of drop-down menus, and you can literally select exactly how you want it to function. If we move on to the next screen then, Sebastian, this one's important for me because it goes back to that point I made earlier on about the convergence of legacy telematics and video telematics. And on the screen now, you've got the dash camera in the center and everything that it can do around the outside. So all the outside stuff, you would have traditionally had to use a legacy tracking system to get driver identification, temperature and door monitoring, immobilization, even your tire pressure monitoring for the sake of argument. But all of these features now are available via this dash cam. It's important also, I think, to get across that Queclink are a tracking company with a great pedigree. We've had 15 years in the tracking game. We know how to make a great telematics unit. And what we've done here is we've actually built a camera on top of one of our top-of-the-range tracking units. Most cameras you'll find in the marketplace are actually coming from the other side. They are cameras that are now trying to behave like tracking units. So the tracking information that tends to come out of them is not that great. With this, you're getting absolutely everything you would out of a state-of-the-art tracking unit, but all of these other features as well. At the top right-hand side, the Bluetooth module that I mentioned earlier on, with that connected to this dash camera, you are now able to even get true odometer reading, fuel usage, idling, etc., and all of your fault codes. So again, stuff that would normally be delivered by a legacy tracking solution. We have even combined it with the device I showed you earlier on, the GL63, to deliver the stolen vehicle recovery solution as well. And again, I can't really talk about how that works, but you can now get literally everything you could possibly want in a vehicle from a telematics and video telematics solution out of one device, which I think makes it a pretty powerful unit. I'm now going to hand over to Mikhail again, just to run you through what the camera and footage looks like on the Wialon platform. So Mikhail, over to you.
Thank you very much, Vernon. So not only you have to have a camera, but also you have to have software where you can see it. So Wialon possesses a video module on which you can get real-time streaming from your MDVR devices. You can play back the files. You can manually or automatically save the videos, and you will have a 5 gigabytes of storage for each unit. So let me show you how it looks inside our platform. So as you can see, we have a video tab now, which was not the case previously. So from here, I can get a live stream from our camera, which is connected in our office in Lithuania. So let's have a look. So as you can see, we are already in live stream mode. So we can see what is happening outside of our office in Lithuania. So the camera is watching on the parking lot, and as you can see, there is a car passing by. So we can confirm that this the real-time monitoring. We can see the timing as well, clicking. Additionally, what you can do, you can play back the files. So if you know that something happens to your unit at some particular time, you can request a video of 1 day long, maybe a couple hours long, and then you can extract 1 minute video in order to save it afterwards in the Files tab. So what have we done together with Queclink? We created some notifications which will be reacting on the closed eyes, on the ignition, on the phone use, and on the yawning. So once again, let's have a look what we achieved together with Wialon and Queclink devices. So we configured the automatic saving of the videos of 10 seconds long. So as you can see, our driver is constantly closing our eyes, and that's why the notification has been triggered and the automatic saving happened. Let's have a look on the yawning. So in those cases, it is better to contact your driver straight away and ask how he's feeling. Does he need a rest? And you can react on those things in a fast and efficient manner. And the final video, let's have a look on the usage of mobile phone. So this is how you can implement a good camera with a good with a good platform. So coming back to you, Vernon. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you for that, Michal. I think we're now going to move to the Q&A session. Now I can't see the questions the way my screen is laid out. Travis, are you there? Are you able to see some of the questions that are coming in?
Yeah. Sorry, I've just been looking and responding to a couple that have been coming through as you stand. So we just had one just saying, what's the average data usage for a video camera per month? Hard to tell, very defined by what type of service you want to offer your customers, because obviously the amount of, you can automatically upload video. So you can get the events that they will automatically upload. You may want to implement a solution where you allow your customer to see the fact that there's been an event and that they may want to then specifically request that data. So there's very different ways of using the system. Because we have customers who want to kind of maintain a smaller data pool that they can manage, opposed to some other customers who are actually keeping that open, because the camera does also have the ability to be used as a Wi-Fi hotspot as well. So as a potential service, that is an offering that some customers may offer and some customers may not. So all we can say is really it does depend on the size of your of the configuration. In terms of how you want to configure it, whether you want the highest frame rate, for example, we can do 30 frames per second on the front-facing camera with the highest resolution. Obviously, that will be a bigger file size. So to give you an example, about 1 minute, so 60 seconds for the forward-facing at the highest resolution would be about 70 megabytes. So if you were combining that with the internal camera at the highest resolution, you'll be looking at just over 100 megabytes per video. As you can imagine, that's quite a lot. That's if you want the highest. We can obviously set that lower. I know that currently we're looking at on the medium setting, probably for, we would say, a 10-second, which would be, 20-second, 10 seconds pre and 10 seconds post the event. You could be looking at more like 40 to 50 meg on the front camera. So it really does depend. And then if you multiply that by the number of events that could happen in a day, you could quite comfortably go, you could get 5 gig in some cases if you want to upload everything, but that's where you have to be really selective about the service you're offering. We have customers who actually have as little as 250 meg per month because of how they're controlling it. Sorry, there's a few more just coming in. In terms of, you just said there was a SD cards. So the largest SD card currently, the CV200 can manage, is validated for 256. The device has the capability to manage 512 gigabytes as well. We're still validating that in terms of getting the right performance, just to ensure that obviously we continue providing and delivering a good solution, because SD cards can in car cameras cause problems because of the multiple write read write situations. So, but yeah, 512 it is capable of. Currently 256 using Samsung Pro Endurance at the moment is what we recommend. Just carrying on down here, let's see what else we've got. Firmware for the
one that says, will the firmware for the GV58 CEU and the 355 CEU be updated? Yes, we update firmware fairly regularly, but again, we have customers that want very specific firmware, and one of the benefits I think of dealing with Queclink is we're quite flexible in terms of designing specific firmware for specific customers. So yes, the answer to that one, Tian, is yes, it will be updated and can be updated.
We are also having a question. Sorry, gentlemen. We're having a question regarding Wialon video telematics configuration in terms of storage bundle. So basically, you will have a storage of 5 gigabytes in interaction between Wialon and your unit. So for each unit, you will be able to store 5 gigabytes of video data, so you can play back them. You can save them, you can mark them as an important one, so they will not be deleted automatically. For more information about video telematics costs, please contact our sales department. Maria will provide you with the email address. Thank you.
I'll just continue down here. I'll answer them verbally because it will probably be quicker. So there was one about, that's the updated. Sorry, I've had another one just jump in. So how many cameras can be added to the CV200? At the moment, it's a 2-channel camera. So it has the forward-facing camera, and the secondary camera, as Vernon mentioned, can be a selection of any one of the cameras we mentioned, but only one of them. So for example, the AI functionality with the DMS camera that we've mentioned, that would be your second channel. However, that doesn't just manage, obviously, the AI features. That would be doing a permanent recording internally. So it will cover, obviously, any of the incidents that happen. So if you have harsh acceleration or braking events that you want to capture, you'll also see the internal camera view for that as well. We are looking at, in the future, probably middle of next year, we're already developing our new solution, which will potentially be the CV300, but don't quote me on that, which will be looking at multiple channels. So we could be looking up to 4 channels for additional cameras.
There's a question from Zoe Ken. So Zoe, just to make it clear, the combination that we showed today is specifically geared towards stolen vehicle recovery. So in the event of the master unit being removed from the vehicle, no, the secondary unit will not connect to ancillary sensors to keep that information flowing. It's purely working as a stolen vehicle recovery solution in that combination. You can, however, if you were fitting the asset tracking device in isolation into a vehicle, you could use other accessories. But bear in mind, if you're using other accessories, you're obviously consuming battery power and therefore shortening the life of the device. I hope that answers your question. If not, please reach out afterwards and I can clarify with you.
Just another one. Does the CV200 transmit pictures or real-time video? Yeah, I think we demonstrated there is real-time video. Real-time live streaming is capable. And you can literally request a picture at any point in time. Just seeing Dwight's mentioned, why do the two camera videos not sync when playing? I think that might have just been
The connection on this particular
yeah.
webinar is
I
strained.
think that was I think that was just to do with the connection potentially at the time. I know that when normally playing back on the platform, both will be synced.
There's a question from Steve on SD card failure. Is there a way in which we can get an alert if the SD card fails?
Yeah.
And
When you say SD card failure, so we have messaging, we have reporting within the solution, which will effectively tell you whether there's an issue on the SD card, i.e. if it's failed, depending on the type of failure, obviously, it will tell you the status of whether we're connected, whether an SD card is present. Invariably, if it's failed, it will come back and say that the SD card is not present. That message, you can control how frequently you get that information via the configuration. So yes, you can get details of failure on SD cards. So Christian, I just got back to fuel consumption monitoring in the CV200. Do I need to purchase a separate fuel sensor? No, that can come through the CAN bus as long as it's available over the CAN network and the vehicle is providing us that data. You wouldn't need a secondary fuel sensor. We can obviously potentially get either fuel tank level or fuel usage level, depending on what's available over the CAN. So
it's important to point out though, Trav, that in order to connect to the CAN bus, you do need to use the CAN BLE module, which is one of the Bluetooth accessories you can buy alongside the camera. So
yeah, sorry, that's
fuel sensor, it is a separate module.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So your standalone solution for the camera is obviously the forward-facing camera with a secondary camera. Any of the other accessories are all additional options. So as Vernon says, the CAN BLE 100 is a secondary module that will then connect via Bluetooth, and all it needs is power and then connection to your CAN lines. Just seeing where else we've got. So there, I think, Mikael, just something about, do we have an option on Wialon about the health of these particular camera products?
Yes, we recently invented a new feature where you can check the health of the devices. Additionally, as I showed throughout the notification, you can be informed if the camera will be sending a message about any errors. You can set up a notification which will pop up indicating that there is a problem with the device, so you can take immediate action straight away.
Perfect. Just seeing a configuration one. So just, can we have a preset configuration provided of the devices demonstrated today on Wialon, so we can configure the sensors and dashboard display, right? That will be a combination. Yeah, you'll need to, we can provide configurations based on what it is your requirements are. I think you'll have to have a conversation with Wialon around setting up the type of notifications and how to configure the platform to be able to enable those. So yeah, again, Babijad, probably best to contact Wialon and ourselves directly so that we can combine a solution for you.
Yeah, it depends highly on what you want to occur, what you want to receive from the sensor, and Wialon also works with the information that is coming from the sensor. So of course, having CAN data, we can create multiple sensors in order to monitor the status of your car. If CAN bus data is not available, of course, we will not be able to create it.
Yeah. So I suppose from your perspective, the first thing to do would be contact ourselves, Queclink, to be able to provide you the solutions that you need. So if you wanted CAN bus connectivity with, for example, well, if you wanted the GV3555, which comes with CAN bus integrated, we would then work with you to set up a config to provide you the available data, such as Mikael presented earlier with some of the fuel stuff, so fuel fill and so on like that. And as long as it was available on the vehicle that you installed it in, we would then get that set up, and then you could spend some time with some of the support team at Wialon to be able to then set up the relevant notifications and settings within Wialon.
Also, from my side, I wanted to briefly address Zoe's question on Wialon use cases, if you don't mind. So I think we can probably occupy some more minutes here. So yes, my colleague Maria has shared in the chat the link to Wialon case studies. So this is our library of different cases implemented by Wialon partners, depending on what exactly interests you, cameras, other parameters, and particular spheres. You can click and filter the projects that are more interesting to you. And if you are already a Wialon partner, please do not hesitate to contact your partner success manager or project implementation team to discuss what you need in particular.
I think we've hit most of the questions so far. We're out of time a little bit. I know we've run over, so my apologies for running over. Yeah, obviously it's good to be able to answer the questions. I think I have put in the webinar chat for those who are interested. If you want to contact a local regional representative from a sales perspective, initially please contact Vernon, and then we can put you in contact with the local regional representation at the time. Yeah, and there you go. You've got the other details on the screen there ahead of us.
Yeah, I think a nice comment from Steve Morrison there, just about how they're using the CV200. So not only are they getting great results out of it, but they've linked up to the emergency lights on the vehicles, so they can tell when the vehicles are actually speeding illegally. That's a great use case, Steve. Thanks for putting that on there. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Roberto, based on your region, yeah, we can put you in contact with it'll either be myself or another regional FAE to support you with that. I'll put my details on here now in answer, and then if you contact me, I can put somebody your direction for a configuration.
And from Wialon teams, if you have any technical questions, please contact us via our technical care 24/7. The email address you can see on the screen, and also the same for the sales team. So we will be waiting for your feedbacks, and please let's keep this conversation going as well.
Great. So I think if there's no further questions, then we should probably bring the webinar.
This is
Sorry?
definitely working. I just had one come in from Wins, which I think is relevant if everyone is still on. It says, does the CV200 support plug and play? The answer to that is yes. We do have a secondary cable that you can use to install the camera using the OBD as the power. So as primary power, rather than having a full professional installation, you can have effectively an OBD cable, which will allow you to power your camera. And then obviously there's a configuration which will allow that to function as normal. So that is possible to have plug and play to a degree where you can almost send it out in the post and give a basic installation guide to your customer.
Great. Thanks, Trav. I think we'll leave it there. It's been a great webinar. Thank you all very much for joining us. As I said, we appreciate your time and having you with us. And thank you, Christina and Mikhail and the team from Wialon as well for joining us on this webinar. And we look forward to hearing from all of you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.